I think a lot of people were asking about Sports Club. We had the Q&A last week. Y'all sending your questions. Thank you very much for that. Um, we got a lot of questions, so let's jump in.
You're good.
I think the first question that a lot of people asked, and we got this one a lot, what were the origins of Sports Club? A lot of questions about the club itself, but when you get down to it, like, where did it come from? How did it start? How was it founded? And I think that's really one of our biggest pieces of history, is the beginning. I just remember, it must have been back in, I think it was 2015. Man, that seems like such a long time ago, but me, Carson, Ethan Nijme, Connor Castillo, Jonathan Patras, we were just all sitting around a table, just kind of shooting the breeze, just kind of hanging out. We were all friends at that point. We had been at AOC together for a few years now, and we were just thinking, I remember just kind of talking like, man, this campus, it's great, but it's missing something. It's missing something. And I don't remember who said it exactly, but one of us was just like, we're all sporty dudes, we all love sports. What about a sports club? And I'll never forget, I was looking over at Ethan Nijme when that was said, and the look on his face, man, and we just knew that we had something great there. And so, oh man, good times, good memories, of course. But yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
Now, some of you guys sent in a question asking, what makes Sports Club different? What makes Sports Club stand out from the other clubs at AOC? And I think it was in 2014 when Mr. Sprague, first pitched the idea of having a sports club to me and some of the other guys. And we were on board pretty much right away, but we said, one thing, the sports club has to be different. And obviously I can't speak for some of the other clubs at AOC, but we immediately knew sports club had to have a strict no hazing policy. After the incident in 2013, we just knew that was something that had to be a part of the nature and the constitution of sports club. And I think that's one way it's different. And I believe it was Michael Vick, one of the founding members of Sports Club and notable alumni, you may know him from the Falcons, kind of was on board with this idea right away and really helped perpetuate this idea of Sports Club being an inclusive environment where anyone could come and sport together.
A lot of y'all also asked, well, what role did Jeremy Sprague, Dr. Sprague, as he likes to be called these days, from what I've heard, what role did he play in the founding of Sports Club? And, buckle up, because it's a big one. I know Carson already talked a little bit about it. I'm going to elaborate on that, just give you some more information. So let me take you back to that story I was telling, all the Sports Club founding members just kind of sitting around the table, just shooting the breeze, just kind of, man, when I say we were on a roll, we were on a roll. We had an idea for everything. We're like, what about this? What about this? We could do this later in the year, man. It was going so well. And that was when, former president, now current impeached president, Connor Castillo, he kind of looked at all of us and said, guys, you're going to want to take a look at this. And, don't insult us, put the insults away really quick for a second, because it was the fact that we needed an advisor. And now that may be common knowledge to you guys, but back in, this was 2013? It was not common knowledge. It was because of the 2012 hazing incident, which is a big thing. I could get into that. That's a whole other Q&A, man. But now they wanted clubs to have an advisor to make sure that something like that never ever happened to a student ever again. And so we had our sights set. From that moment, we learned we needed an advisor. We had our sights set on Jeremy, Dr. Sprague. And we were like, man, he's really exclusive with the clubs that he advises. We didn't really know we were going to be able to get him. Kind of just like, he's our first choice. We hope we can get him. We didn't know. And I remember it was me and one of my good buddies he's actually was not a founding member, but he was a really good friend of mine, a senior at the time, Mackenzie Frame. I remember he and I, man, we were just like that, honestly. So tight, just such good friends. And he said, I'm chill with Mr. Sprague. Maybe I could get you in with him. They were really good friends too. Kind of a strange little teacher-student friendship. Not really going to go into that, but really good friends at the time. And so I was like, hey, why not? So Mr. Frame, that's how he goes now. Back in the day, we called him Mackenzie. Just a whole other little snippet. he took me to Mr. Sprague, and that was really when I was able to give the pitch and say, Jeremy, doctor, we've got something really good for you. And lo and behold, he loved the idea. He was on board right away. He was a little against the no hazing thing at the time, I remember, but we convinced him. We said, Mr. Sprague, I think just the good of the sport club outweighs the bad of the no hazing policy, and that kind of got him on board. And so we're super thankful to have him, and he's still the advisor today. Hopefully he's watching this video with y'all. Shout out Jared Bear. We still remember you, man.
Some of you guys asked what our biggest adversity we had to overcome as a club was, and I'd say that was back in the summer of 2016 when AOC really started to crack down and change their concussion protocol policies and steroid use as a whole. And it's just kind of really changing, which for the better of the school, but it meant the sports club really had to get our act together. And we found out 4 out of our 5 members of leadership had concussions at the time, and that was affecting their club status, their academic repertoire, if you will, and just really adversely affecting the club as a whole. And kind of we realized this is when sports club was going to have to make a change for the better, or we were going to get kicked off campus. And I'd say that's when one of our biggest victories as a club was when we were all able to kind of band together and realize sports club was going to have to be a good, legitimate club, or else we would have to face the consequences.
Yeah, a lot of you wrote in asking about Connor's presidency, his impeachment, and it brings back, some good memories, some bad memories. Sorry, let me try and keep it together for the camera. Mostly bad. Just he and I were really good friends. Really good. It's almost a haze. I don't even remember what happened, but I just remember a sports club started as kind of an embezzlement inside joke, kind of a little embezzlement scheme inside joke, and of course it was my joke, and then we kind of started to get serious. First it was a bowling club, then a weightlifting club, and when it comes to Connor taking power, none of us, I don't think any of us were really sure how that was to happen. But was he kind of a little weasel, kind of slithering his way in up the ranks, kind of from behind? And I just, 1 minute you're all friends around a table, and the next there's these tense political dynamics of sports club, and I just never wanted to be that way again. Which is why sports clubs switch into a parliament system. We'll get to that later. Yeah, I just never want that to happen again. But eventually, me and Ethan Nijme and Jonathan Patras and Dr. Sprague, of course, and Carson Gardner, we just got together and said, hey, this needs to stop. He's abusing his power in a lot of ways. And it came down to the fact that I think it had been I think the stretch from 2018 all the way to I want to say March 2020, we just had no meetings. The club just didn't meet. And everyone was wondering what's going on? Did y'all break up? I can tell you right now, in the aftermath, just knowing it was Connor's presidency. And so, love the guy. Never let it be said that he's not one of my good friends, but just when it came to sports club presidency, the power just got to his head, and it was not a good thing for him. It wasn't a good thing for me or for the rest of sports clubs. So we just had to say, you're cut off. That's enough. And thankfully, our current president, Nathan Patras, just a stellar guy. Stellar candidate for the position, and it was just a unanimous vote at that point. A lot of good things can be said about Nathan, and a lot of good things can be said about Connor too, but a lot of bad things can be said about Connor.
Now, I had a lot of you guys writing to me personally asking what my thoughts were on Class Cup being soccer this year. And as former defensive player of the year, there were a lot of thoughts running through my head, kind of looking back fondly on my time in the AOC football program and kind of just remembering how my freshman year, I had a lot of different offers to play at different schools. I could have had starting positions at some other schools, but at the end of the day, I decided to go walk on at AOC because I thought that's kind of where I would best be able to shine. And through that and through my time within the AOC football program, I feel like I was able to really develop my skills. And just seeing the football program being dissolved like this, it just brings a certain sense of sadness to my heart. I mean, between the locker room shenanigans that I'm sure you've heard all about, and just all the hijinks on and off the field, just the good memories I made at the AOC football program are something that, even though Class Cup is now soccer, it's something that'll never be taken away from me. I'm just remembering that senior night, the end of our season last year, and after winning states, it was just such a great feeling. And I feel like even though soccer, albeit is a good sport for maybe European fellas, I just don't think it's what AOC needs. And me and with Nathan Patras behind me, I know I can say that Sports Club 100% will not and will never endorse soccer being played at Class Cup. Again, no hate towards soccer, but that's just not what Class Cup is about.
There were a bunch of different questions. I think the number was it was somewhere over 100, and we'd love to answer them all. We just don't have that kind of time. We're off to our day jobs pretty soon, and just it was really great to hear from you all. We're just out of time, so I'm just going to give some quick advice, just some quick tips to future sports clubbians, future leadership, any of you aspiring leaders out there. Just kind of know what's what. First, as former defensive player of the year, I think I can just speak with authority here and just say, have fun with it. There's going to be a lot of times you may lose. Class Cup, for example, March Madness. And on that note, let me just say, Sports Club and March Madness do not mix. We just will never endorse that wicked tournament at AOC. We just will never endorse it. It will never be. Secondly, I do agree with what Carson said. Never let it be said that Sports Club loves soccer. Now, we think it has its place in Europe. Europe's not the US, though. There's a reason. There's a reason we're independent from them now. Never forget that. But lots of things to say. If a president ever goes rogue again, like what happened with Connor Castillo, I think Mr. Sparagi does have the tranquilizer gun in his desk somewhere. Now, if he's not there and one of you guys needs it, give me a call, and I'll tell you where it is. Trust me. There's so much stuff to say, man. Do we have more time? I got 30 seconds. Okay. Really quickly, guys. Just thank you. If you read the Constitution of Sports Club, you'll know one thing about vice presidents. Although I'm not a vice president actually myself, one thing about us is that we have the power to adjourn meetings. So with that being said, money up, Sports Club. This meeting is adjourned.